Okay, so you're ready for 2026 to be your luckiest year yet. You know, the year where the opportunities flow to you, where you get to say, I was in the right place at the right time. And when you finally get that lucky break in your career, your business, your art, your content creation. This is the beautiful thing about luck when you really understand how it works, is that it can be created and the conditions can be manufactured in order for you to have more lucky moments so that you can see success, where opportunity and the work you've been doing meets chance and you're able to get to that next level. And as somebody who has experienced the way that these lucky events can change the trajectory of your life, I'm ready to get into it. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this video. The 4 types of luck as defined by the neurologist Dr. James Austin, some examples, but how we're actually going to use this in 2026 to see success. So let's just get into it. So the first category of luck is luck from motion. Now, this is effectively the luck that comes from you just putting more out there and increasing your surface area for chance events to occur. What does that really mean? We typically underestimate the number of reps required, not just to get good at something, but for these events to occur, for this chance interaction to happen. And this is in part because of something called the availability heuristic, which is the fact that as human beings, we typically tend to take what's readily available in our head and make that truth. And why is that a problem? Often what's readily available in our head are those loud moments that people talk about. You know, the person who got on YouTube and had one video blow up, or, they went to one event and met an investor that gave them 5 million. Those sorts of stories are typically at the top of our minds. And so we think that that's actually what it takes to have a lucky event, those chance encounters, when in reality, it typically takes a lot more. Most of the successful people you see have been putting in reps. They've had the motion. That's why they've been getting these lucky moments. So let me give you an example from somebody, Miss Issa Rae. Now, she is somebody that we now know for, the hit TV show Insecure and all the work that she's done in terms of the entertainment space and changing the narrative around, the stories that we tell. But this woman didn't just get that lucky break and, they came to her and said, we want you to put in. That's not how it happened. Issa Rae got herself on YouTube, created a show, created motion around what it is that she wanted to showcase on TV and entertainment. She put the reps in. She did the uploads, right? She got herself out there and was in motion. And when that took off, when there was a reaction in that sense, that's when she could get to the point where she could have a hit show on a TV network, right? But it wasn't until she had motion that those lucky events could occur, right? You could say it was lucky that somebody reached out to her or that they found her, but it was because she was in motion. She created the circumstances for those lucky breaks to occur. And I actually want to draw on an example from my own life and my own journey. Now, we could say that it was probably pretty lucky that Amazon AWS found me in the sea of other creators in order to fly me from London to Cape Town for a paid brand partnership, right? There's thousands, if not millions of creators out there. Pretty lucky that they stumbled upon me. Only it wasn't just blind luck. This was the kind of luck that happens from the motion that I have around my content that I had been doing for years by the time they got there, right? By the time they reached out, I'd been making videos and putting myself out there for years. My craft, like that was the momentum that I was using to drive myself forward, increase my surface area for luck. Each video was another opportunity for me to be discovered and found, right? I was in motion, and it's that same motion that helped me connect with other brands like HP and Samsung and all of these companies. Motion. And one more example before we move on. I was offered a job this year as a developer advocate. Even in the market that we're in, this job was attracted to me. Now, this happened because 2 women had a phone call. Now, one of the women on that phone call happened to have done a podcast with me some months or maybe over a year before that. Now, she was on the phone with someone who was looking for a developer advocate who had a background in SRE, but also in content. Now, you can say it's pretty lucky that these 2 women were having a call at the time they were, and one of them had encountered me in the situation they had. But this, again, wasn't just the chance that happens from, out of thin air. It was because I had motion. It was because I was networking, because I was taking on opportunities, even if I didn't always know exactly where the opportunity was going to lead to. So say at this point, I think we understand how luck from motion and increasing our surface area for chance event works. So how are we going to take this into 2026? Well, the first thing that we're going to need to do is increase the number of reps in whatever arena we're playing in, whatever arena we are trying to see success, whether it's our business, like I said, content, career, fashion, whatever it is, we're probably going to need to be doing more reps than we currently are. And I'm not saying this to the point where you do so many reps that quality or health or like your life is negatively impacted, but you're probably not doing enough, right? If it's content creation, can you maybe take your 1 post a week up to 2? Right? If it is networking and you're trying to build a stronger, more powerful network, well, if you're going to events maybe once a quarter, maybe it's time to take that up to once a month, right? So think about the number of reps. Take a look at what you're doing. Can I up this without reducing quality or having a negative impact on crucial areas of my life? So the second thing that you're going to do to increase the amount of luck that you get from motion is you're actually going to start sharing your journey. Now, the reason why this is so important is because if I do an activity, right, like I do something to do with my career or my business or my art, right, that is good. That is reps, that is motion. But we can amplify this motion. We can leverage social media to create more momentum around what I'm doing. And again, increase my surface area for luck encounters to occur, as you saw in the examples of Issa Rae with me sharing about my own journey. There are countless events or countless occurrences where somebody was putting their work online and increased the motion, increased the energy around their work. And so lucky events occurred, lucky encounters. They were able to, by chance, come across the right people, the right opportunities. So you're going to get on socials, but you're going to get on the one that fits with you, right? So if you're not already posting and you know that maybe you're not a YouTuber, although I would say YouTube is one of the best, like maybe you like writing. Maybe you can get your story and more motion around by writing on LinkedIn or your Substack. Or maybe it is like TikToks. Maybe you love sharing your story in a more relaxed, chilled way. Get on there, create more motion with socials. Now, the third thing we're going to do is actually going to amplify all of this motion by giving it direction. So it's one thing for me to just put out content in general, right? It's another thing if I could put out very specific content that relates to what I want to do, right? Because now I'm operating with direction, not just movement. I have momentum in towards a particular goal, right? So think about what it is you're trying to achieve, the motion and the reps you're already putting in, but actually, can I direct those reps? Can I make them more specific? And the likelihood of you encountering more lucky events in 2026 around motion because of just doing these things is incredibly high. You just have to stick with it long enough to see the outcomes. Now, the second type of luck is called luck from awareness. This is the chance encounters that occur because of your level of expertise, knowledge, and experience. It's centered around the fact that because of your depth and understanding in a particular area, you're able to spot opportunities that others can't. They lack the awareness to see what is right in front of them, this lucky moment that sits right here. Just think about something that you're very good at. Maybe it's your career, or maybe it's one of your passions and your hobbies. You are able to see things that others don't because they lack a level of mastery. Right? Maybe you work in tech. Maybe it is around social media. Maybe it's around healthcare. Maybe it's around relationships. There is something that you have a level of expertise in that means that you are primed for lucky events to occur. I want to share an example from one of my favorite people and someone I speak about all the time on this channel, which is Rihanna. Now, we could argue that it was pretty lucky that Rihanna launched her Fenty Beauty brand at the time she did, right? The market almost seemed primed for what it is that she had to offer. That 40 plus shade range that she dropped and, it was selling out, turned into a multi-million-dollar company. But let's take a step back and think about this for a moment, because Rihanna and her team had a level of awareness about the beauty industry that meant they were primed for this lucky event or this lucky set of circumstances to occur. They understood that the beauty industry had been ignoring a group of people for years, right? There was an audience who felt that they were not being catered to when it came to shade ranges and around foundation, concealer, and blushes. They had this awareness. They were listening to the discourse that was happening online, where social commentators and the beauty gurus were talking about calling out brands effectively. They were aware of this. This was not a surprise to them. And so when people talk about companies that launch just at that time for them to blow up, a lot of the time, it isn't just dumb luck or blind luck. It's actually because they have the awareness of the environment that they're in. And I think this is a prime example of that we're all aware of. And I love hearing stories about that type of luck that occurs from being a master at what you do and really digging deep. Now, what does that mean for us in 2026? Well, if you've been on my page before, you know I'm a proponent of being a multi-passionate individual, right? A Renaissance approach that means you can have multiple skills and multiple passions. However, I'm a realist and I understand that a level of mastery and intent comes with narrowing down to an extent. So I'm saying in 2026, you need to dive deeper into several of your passions, right? 2 to 3, and really become a master of those, or start the journey towards mastery and becoming really aware of what's going on in that particular arena. And how are you going to do that? Well, let's just take the example of maybe tech and AI or content creation. You can insert whatever it is that you are really trying to see success in 2026, an area that you want to see more lucky events and opportunities. Number 1, can you self-study for a certificate or go on some sort of course so that you can get a deeper understanding of how things work? And I say certificates not because I think they're flashy or useful in that sense, but because they can give structured learning to you without having to go back to university. Can you attend more conferences? Can you be surrounded by experts in that particular area? And this actually feeds back into, luck from motion as well, because you're being put out there. And so you're getting killing 2 birds with 1 stone almost. That saying's actually kind of wild because I don't really know why we're killing birds. Anyway, doesn't matter. Can you commit to building a project over the next 3 months? You give it a particular outcome. You're going to be dedicated in those 3 months to doing that, and the amount of learning and expertise that will come with that will shock you. Can you dedicate yourself to reading 2 books or a book per month on these particular topics? Can you join a community, a membership, an accountability group so that you can get that kind of furthering with the community and the people around you who are on a similar journey, on a journey of expertise and awareness with you? Now, all of this is going to prime you for the luck that occurs through awareness, right? Because you have been building up that level of expertise and understanding. But the second part of this is also giving you enough space and room to reflect on this. Sometimes you can get so deep into something that you never actually step back further enough to see the connections, those interesting opportunities, those lucky encounters, right? Because you are so close, you can't see the bigger picture. So also balance going deep into things with taking a step back to reflect. Do you ever just spend time thinking about the things you know, or going for a walk and allowing your mind to wander? Right? It sounds counterintuitive when I'm talking about really diving deeper and digging in, but you need to balance it with the time and the space for your brain to make these interesting connections so that you can see the luck that happens from awareness. Go for more walks. Take time out that doesn't involve scrolling online. Give your brain the room to do what it needs to do and what it can do so well. Now, the third type of luck is one of my favorites because it really draws on something that is close to my heart. And this is the luck that comes from being uniquely you. Luck from uniqueness. Your personality, your voice, your values, your character traits. These things can make you a magnet for lucky events, for opportunities to flow towards you. Now, this is when people choose you specifically because of who you are, because of your unique configuration of experiences, of skill. This is why I think being a multi-passionate person is actually such a leg up in this world. And especially with AI changing things, your uniqueness that comes from your configuration of interests and skills and passions and your core being make you stand out. And you know what? Lucky events typically tend to come to people who are standing out a lot more than those who sit within the crowd, if you think about it. The next example I'm going to use is going to sound kind of wild for a moment, but think about Gordon Ramsay, right? Think about Gordon Ramsay for a second. I actually love some of his shows. I can't lie. This is a chef among many chefs, right? Right? There are fantastic chefs in this world. Did they all have the opportunity to be on TV, to have multiple successful shows? Everything that he's done, open up restaurants. This man is uniquely him in a sense that whilst he is a chef who is an expert at what he does, he's also a very, very interesting character, right? He kind of just says things as it is. He swears quite a lot, right? And I'm pretty sure he's leaned into that a lot more, but there are traits that make him very uniquely him, his experience growing up in the area he did, right? How he interacts with people, how he shows up. They make him very uniquely placed to get an opportunity like that, for that lucky event to occur where he was spotted or was made available for the shows that he now has. This is a luck that comes from him being uniquely him, not just because he's a good chef. That's not enough. It's everything else that came around him. So there are a lot of examples of this in the world. And one that I want to draw on from my own life comes around my YouTube channel, right? So I am now at 180,000, but I was plodding along for a while. And I think the videos that really took me over the edge, that had those lucky encounters where the algorithm could just, serve me up to the right people, were the ones where I was showing my unique self, where my personality came out more, my traits, the things that only I really could do in the way that I do them. Those are the videos that took me into those chance encounters where I could be in front of the right person, where I landed on the right person's homepage. And the prime example of that, and the video that actually took me to 100K, to that plaque that you see there, was where I was talking about my multiple passions and interests, where I was talking about the fact that I loved Sims growing up, where I was talking about the fact that I'm an engineer, but I think like this, and all of these things that came out in that video, where I was actually speaking quite openly. I really did not have a outline. I don't script, so I definitely didn't have that. I spoke quite from the heart in that video, and it really propelled my channel. It was a lucky moment, if you would like, that time when the opportunities flowed finally to me, but it was golden, and it came from my uniqueness. So how in 2026 are we going to tap into this type of luck? Well, the first thing is a mindset shift. But you don't want to shrink yourself and try to become more like the crowd. There are, again, things that are uniquely you that you can be tapping into, but you have to shift this mindset from, well, if this is what success looks like for this person, I have to replicate them exactly in order to see success in my life, in order for those lucky events to happen and occur to me. That person already exists. Right? There's no point in me trying to recreate my life as somebody else who's on YouTube or someone else who's on TikTok. They exist already. I would just be the second version of them. Yuck. But what that looks like in practice is actually getting very good at storytelling and telling your story and your mission, your through line, right? What is it that makes you uniquely you, and how can you communicate this to others? There is a line between telling enough about your story and who you are and oversharing. Now, I'm not a proponent of oversharing things online or in any capacity that you're not comfortable with, but at the same time, get good at this. If you're a multi-passionate person, you're stuck, use things like my brand formula to get clear on your storytelling, right? There's a video that you can see, I'm going to put it up over here, that you can watch afterwards if you're getting confused or worried about how I'm actually going to tell this story about my life. And understand how you're going to tell this story in a room. That means people will gravitate towards you, the right opportunities and those lucky events can occur. And now, leading on from that particular tip, I actually want you to build reputational character. So it's one thing to be known for your skills and things like that, and that interesting configuration, but also be known for your character. Things like reliability, excellence, leadership, creativity, generosity. You often find as well that people who encounter lucky events and opportunities are often a factor of their reputation as well, right? These things that, again, are not necessarily about their expertise in an area, but how they carry themselves, how they move through life. And if you are building reputational capital, you can lock into that. Lucky events and opportunities are usually driven towards those type of people because people want to encounter that. If I have an opportunity, right, and I know that there's somebody online and I've been seeing them through their motion, right, or through their awareness, but now I also know that there's somebody who stand on business, they're known for leadership, they're known for their clarity, those things that make them uniquely you with everything else. Now, there's one more type of luck I want to talk about. And initially, I was going to kind of leave this out or like skim over this because to an extent, you can't really do much about this. It's blind luck. This is the luck that is just a factor of things that are not within your control. Where you were born, the wealth of your family, things of that nature, the school that you went to. Now, these are things that typically give a person a leg up in the environment that they are currently in, right? Perhaps the fact that if I was born a male or female in a certain country at a certain time would mean that I was just lucky to just be in that situation. And some things, they just are what they are and we can't do much about them. However, if you've read the book, The Unfair Advantage, or you've ever heard anyone speak about that, this is the fact that a lot of us have more blind luck than we realize. But it's because that we haven't looked at the cards that we've been dealt, or we're playing them in the wrong arena, right? We're actually playing the wrong game with the lucky things that we have, that blind luck that we've been given. I was born in the UK, which meant that I have access to a number of really good resources that are a factor of being in this country, right? That's just is what it is. Blind luck, I didn't get to pick where I was born. But what I do with that now is up to me. Right, it's up to me how I use that blind luck to my advantage. Do I take advantage of the education system, of the mobility, of the things that I can encounter, the training that I can do, the spaces I can move in? It's up to me to like lean into that blind luck. So in terms of tapping into this in 2026, we need to kind of just outline the things that are just us. We don't have any control over them. Make a list. How I was born, country you're from, all of these things, just write them down. It doesn't matter how silly you think they are, siblings, all that sort of stuff that is not within your control, but just adds to you. Next, I want you to start to think about positioning yourself in a way that is going to allow you to leverage that luck, leverage the fact that you are who you are and that you had no say in those things, but that doesn't matter. You're going to drive and as a forcing function, create lucky events just because of this, just because you're going to position yourself and move in a way that you can tap into this. But also think about leveraging timing. Sometimes your blind luck is also a feature of timing. Like Rihanna is a black woman, right? She is, that's what she is. But her success in part was because she was able to leverage that blind luck, that thing that just came from her being her in the right time, combine it with things like the luck from awareness, from motion. And actually, as I draw this kind of video to a close, I want to make it clear that a lot of the time, multiple forms of this luck are interacting at once, as you can probably tell, right? It's very rare that it's just one type of luck that is interacting to get you closer to where you want to be. Right? It's just a combination of them. But I actually wanted to show you how luck is not just something that just happens. It can actually be created or encouraged and manufactured in a sense when you know about the types of luck there are and how you can play into them. Now, since I spoke quite a lot about the increasing your surface area for luck in this video, I would advise you, if you haven't yet, watch this video on building your personal brand. It links so much to getting the luck that comes from motion, that comes from uniqueness, blind luck. It interacts with all of these. And so I would take a look at that one next. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.